Now in this video, I'm going to talk about an issue that many people have in regards to controlling the back mount, and that's upper body control. And I believe, in my opinion, upper body control is just as important, if not more important, than your hooks. All right, and the reason for that is because if you do not have good upper body control, your hooks really don't mean much of anything, honestly. You have to have good upper body control. And if you do have good upper body control, many times you don't even need the hooks. You can still go for submissions and you can still go for attacks. The back mount is one of those rare positions where I believe that many times it's actually submission before position. All right, and I talk about that in other videos on the Grapplers guide. So let's just go into this. So I'm gonna have Russ's back. We're gonna just lean right to a side. So I'm gonna have Russ's back. I'm leaning right to a side here. And I have good upper body control on him. And this is extremely important. The seatbelt control with the back mount is extremely underrated. All right, we're gonna talk about different examples. There's seatbelt control, there's Kimura grips, then you also have arm traps and so on and so forth. I'm gonna give you an overview. All right, this isn't gonna be an extremely in-depth video of each position, but I'm gonna give you an overview of basically upper body control. So I'm here like this. I have my basic Marcelo Garcia style seatbelt position on him. Now, when I have this position, my chest is stuck to his back. A lot of people get this and their chest is disconnected. Right? If your chest is disconnected when you have this, you're giving him so much upper body movement. And if you give him upper body movement, it actually messes up your hooks. But when I'm here like this, right, and I have good shoulder control, what I mean is my shoulder is basically on his shoulder, my chest is on his chest, and I'm basically ear to ear here, right? It's almost like I'm kind of giving him a nice like cuddle. So I'm here like this. Now when he goes to do the same thing, the dynamics changes extremely. And the biggest reason why it changes is because I'm controlling the back of the shoulder. All right, this is actually the biggest thing here. The head helps, and my chest on his back helps, but by controlling the back of his shoulder, just by me doing this, when he goes to bring his back flat to the mat, it becomes much harder for him to do it. If I didn't control, right now my hand is kind of like behind his back, he could just drop his shoulder right to the mat. So if we turn this way, here, and this is me leaning onto the strong side. All right, so strong side is basically my arm over his shoulder here. When I'm here, actually, let's turn a little bit more this way, try to find the proper angle. I'm here like this, okay? I'm gonna take my hooks off just so you can see. I'm here like this. Everything is tight, like this. I'm not like this. I'm not disconnected. By being disconnected in any possible way, his shoulder is now free. And this gives him even more ability to turn his upper body. If you combine this with the twisting his upper body that I talk about in another video, you have extremely good upper body control on your opponent. And like your legs start becoming a little less necessary also. So I'm here like this, right? I'm nice and tight to his shoulder, and my head is tight as well. So now when he goes to drop his shoulder to the mat, it becomes hard. Even if I let go of my hooks. It's extremely hard for him to turn his shoulder to the mat. Right? I let go of the hooks. I didn't even have the hooks. But to me, I still have back control of him because I have very good upper body control. I'm leaning to the proper side. My head is stuck to his head. My chest is stuck to his back. My shoulder is stuck to his shoulder. It's kind of like we're Siamese twins and we're pretty much just mirroring each other. Like I'm basically like facing his back and we're doing the same exact thing practically. And all these things come into play. But the biggest thing is I'm actually controlling his shoulder. And this shoulder control applies to many different aspects. If I get side control and I make him turn away from me and I control his shoulder, he's not going to be able to turn into me. It applies as well. Now, does this also apply when you have your opponent on your weak side? Let's see. So now we're here, right? I have my position and we're on the weak side. Now the difference is it's much harder for me to control his shoulder because he's on the weak side. The reason being is because more often than not, your head is going to be over here, right? So your head is going to be over here. It's not going to be over here. The reason why you never really want it over here is because you're giving him freedom to put his head to the mat. By giving him freedom to put his head to the mat, he's now can bridge, he can do shoulder walks backwards, and start escaping, all right? Number one, this is like one of the number one back mount escapes. So, let's analyze this weak side here. boom, we're here, right? What things do I need to stop him from doing so I can keep good upper body control on him, all right? One of the first things I need to do is I need to make sure that he can't just easily turn his hips. So once again, I do this basically like twisting type of motion I talk about in another video, right? Another thing that I like to do is I like to take my elbow and bring it behind his shoulder, and I'll even put my knee behind his shoulder like this. So essentially what I did is I let go of a hook, okay? Now when he goes to turn, it's much harder for him to turn, okay? I literally just took my shin, put it behind his back, and I put my knee up by his shoulder here like this. Now when he goes to turn his back to the mat, much harder for him to turn, and then watch what I do. I quickly let go, and I rotate him to the other side. Now I do this, now I get my position again. So if we show you the back view, we're applying the same exact concept. We fall on the weak side. I understand that we are on the weak side, and I understand that my hooks honestly don't really mean that much when I'm on the weak side here. No-gi, my hooks don't really mean much of anything if I fall on the weak side. So I need to think about what is going to help him escape. Him turning his body, him flattening his back to the mat, and him basically turning it to me so he could do his shoulder walking. What can I do to stop him from doing this? Control his shoulder just like I did on the opposite side, but I have to use different mechanics because my body isn't in the same position. So when I'm here, right, we fall to the weak side. I feel like I fall to the weak side, and I watch, right, look, I just do this here. I'm just here like this. Now and this leg goes over. When he goes to turn now, much harder. He's actually, look what he's doing. He's actually bringing himself up. He was basically voluntarily lifting his body up to this like upward back mount position, and now I can bring him back to this side. Now, boom. Now when he tries to get back to the weak side, it's no longer an option because my position is good, all right? Basic biomechanics. If you watch the videos on the Grapplers Guide, I have a whole section on the Grapplers Guide labeled leverage and control. Like, that's it. And there's another one called joint manipulation. It's also coincides very well with the leverage and control position. And I talk about different leverage points of the body, and the shoulder is a huge leverage point of the body. Essentially, anywhere there's a joint on your opponent's body is where you're going to have the best leverage. The reason for that is because general physics. It's the distal end or the furthest end of a lever, and the furthest end of the lever is usually the best place for you to get any type of leverage. And the same thing applies with the shoulder. The shoulder is the furthest end of the lever of his arm here. It's also one of the furthest ends of the lever of his shoulder girdle too. So I'm not a scientist, and I'm not I'm not an anatomy teacher, so I may say my terms wrong or whatever, but the principles still apply. The fact of the matter is, I understand what I need to cover, what my bases need to be, or my bases need to be covered when certain things happen, so I can keep my upper body control. And this isn't even all of it. The seatbelt control and so on and so forth applies to so many different situations. Just like a quick thing here, I'm going to talk about the concept of resetting, right? Very fast, I'm going to talk about the concept of resetting because we have a whole video on resetting on the Grapplers Guide in the back attacks program. So I'm here like this, right? Oh, I have this position. Let's say I mess up. I mess up everything. I'm not controlling the shoulder. He starts going flat. Look, I come out. Here, I reset, and look what my reset did. My reset automatically, because I'm holding him nice and tight, blocked his shoulder. This shoulder, right here, this shoulder, the one that's up high, regardless of the side that he's on, is one of the most important aspects of controlling the back. Right? It's extremely underrated. Because now when he goes to turn into me, he can't do it anymore. He just physically can't do it. Now I can lift him up, sit him here. I don't even have my hooks in yet, but I still have good control of his back here. I'm making sure I'm sucking him up because I don't want him to slide down. I'm blocking his shoulder. Go to slide down, go to move. Still didn't get my hooks, but I still have shoulder control. And I can still work for my submissions from here. Marcelo Garcia is a perfect example on how you don't need your hooks in to finish rear naked chokes. You don't need it. Watch on the Grapplers Guide how we talk about finishing rear naked chokes and finishing chokes in transition. right? The importance of doing that. You can find that video in the back attacks section, and also the transition section, finishing of submissions and transition. These are just some tips to help you out in regards to upper body control. And your upper body control is going to help your lower body control. Watch the other video that I talk about, where I talk about tips to keep your feet in. Also, changing side. You put these two videos together, all the concepts, you have a really good system in regards to controlling your opponent's back. So play around with these ideas. If you have any questions or comments, post below, and I'll do the best I can to help you out. All right, peace.